It started as a boast and ended as a backlash. Angel Reese sat down with the Chicago Tribune and drew a line in bold, unmissable ink. She wasn't going to settle for the same next season, and if the Chicago Sky wanted her future, they'd better surround her with good players, great players, the best of the best. No riddles, no subtlety. It was a sophomore star putting her ambition and her mouth on the record. But once those words left the page and hit the locker room, the air shifted. What began as a challenge turned into damage control. Reports said veterans bristled, young players rolled their eyes, and a team meeting had to be called just to clear the air. That's not momentum, that's fallout. Reese didn't stop with generalities. In a line that cut deep into the fabric of league memory, she dismissed the idea of leaning on Courtney Vandersloot, one of the most decorated point guards the WNBA has ever seen, suggesting it was unrealistic to rely on a veteran at that age. Respect is the league's unspoken currency, and Vandersloot's resume is a vault of it. Championships, all WNBA nods, records, leadership that shaped a generation. To wave that off with a shrug didn't sound like standards, it sounded like scorn. Around the league, you could almost hear the wince. Legends aren't meant to be tossed aside, they're meant to be honored, learned from, and built upon. The irony, of course, is that Chicago's front office had already been bending its plan around Reese. They'd made aggressive moves, even parting with a prized rookie to bring in proven production. They weren't asleep at the wheel, they were stepping on the gas, building for her timeline. But gratitude never made the rotation. The message that came out of Reese's interview landed like an air horn. New guards, new wings, new everything. Tear it down, build me help. And inside that locker room, the reaction was as human as it was predictable. Teammates saw their own names between those lines. They felt expendable, judged, as if told they were the weight holding someone else back. Instead of diagramming late game sets, the team was sitting in a meeting, hashing out words from a microphone. Players who had been taping ankles and swallowing minutes for each other were suddenly asked to prove they belonged in their own jerseys. Fans noticed the tension too. Sometimes the sky looked freer when Reese sat. The ball moved cleaner. The floor spaced wider, possessions breathed easier. It wasn't sabotage, it was a pattern. A franchise player is supposed to lift everyone else, to raise the ceiling in her orbit. When the opposite happens, when teammates play looser without you, it's not just about numbers, it's about trust, fit, and the invisible chemistry that makes a team more than a box score. None of this erases Reese's potential. It simply highlights the gap between what she's demanding and what she's already delivered. That gap can be closed, but not with interviews. It closes with tempo control at the elbow, sharper reads on the short roll, fewer wasted gathers in traffic, and the kind of polished footwork that turns blocks into and ones. It closes by blowing up pin downs on defense without fouling, by showing she can be the anchor of a unit without being the center of the drama. It closes by taking the roster she has, elevating it, and forcing the front office to keep up, not by daring them to leap ahead while she's still cleaning up mistakes. And here's where the contrast comes into focus. In Indiana, Caitlin. Clark never had to publish a wish list. She didn't need to tell her front office to build around her because her game is the blueprint. Her gravity organizes the offense on its own. Aaliyah Boston's catches come cleaner. Kelsey Mitchell's shooting windows open wider. Lexi Hull's stops on defense ripple into meaningful possessions because Clark makes sure the ball finds purpose after every play. Even sidelined by injury, Clark traveled, sat with her teammates, spoke up in huddles, and made herself accountable to the same roster carrying the minutes she couldn't. Cameras saw it, fans saw it, the league saw it. That's the margin scouts. Right in the corners of their notebooks. Leadership isn't a soundbite about standards, it's the consistency that turns those standards into a baseline. Clark's toughest nights came when defenses keyed on her, when the game slowed down into mud, and still she kept her teammates involved. She didn't shrink the system into herself. She stayed in structure. Even in street clothes, she projected order, purpose, professionalism. That's why veterans nod. That's why teammates rally. That's why free agents want to play with her. Chicago's situation, meanwhile, has grown colder. Calling out a veteran doesn't just test her, it tests the entire fraternity of vets who built this league on bruises and tape. Casting doubt on young guards doesn't just evaluate talent, it builds a reputation about how you treat peers when things get difficult. And when the team sometimes looks more fluid without you, the answer isn't more demands, it's more growth. The Sky's front office now faces a choice because public ultimatums force clarity. Do they back Reese's vision, overhaul the roster to fit her demands, and live with the ripple effects that sends through the locker room? Or do they weigh the possibility that the problem isn't just the pieces around her, but her own game, and quietly explore whether the league values the idea of Angel Reese more than her current reality? Teammates will notice. Free agents will notice. Nobody missed the Vandersloot comment. Nobody missed the suspension. Nobody will miss what happens next. But this doesn't have to be the breaking point. The WNBA is full of players who once talked louder than they produced, who eventually turned ambition into discipline and became cornerstones. Reese has the tools. Her motor is ferocious. Her rebounding instincts are elite. She can be a nightly double-double machine and a foul magnet once. Her patience and touch mature. She can flip turnovers into paint touches that tilt defenses. She can turn a locker room by carrying it, not critiquing it. But that requires a season of listening more than speaking, a film study over sound bites. It means making teammates better before asking for better teammates. For now, Chicago exists inside the tension she created, and between ambition and accountability, between the star Reese says she is and the star she's still becoming. The Sky hoped they were laying bricks around, a franchise cornerstone. The past few weeks made them wonder if they were patching cracks in a fault line instead. That's the story beneath the story, the echo that extends past one interview into the offseason. The WNBA doesn't just measure talent, it measures trust. It measures who unites a room and who fractures it. It measures which voices convince free agents to join and which ones make them hesitate. Chicago can't afford hesitation, not in a league where culture compounds faster than stats. So what happens next? Maybe Angel Reese takes this moment as a pivot, trims her mistakes, buries herself in tape, and comes back with a game so undeniable, the noise evaporates. Maybe the Sky bet on her vision, reshape the roster, and watch it click. Or maybe this was the moment the franchise realized the biggest rebuild wasn't the roster at all. It was the mirror. Now it's your turn. Is this tough love from a star refusing mediocrity, or a self-inflicted storm from a player not yet ready to lead? Are you Team Clark, the elevator who raises everyone else, or Team Reese, the motor with potential but still at a crossroads? Drop your take in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. The offseason just got louder, and the next move will define everything.